We have now Elizabeth Millner outside of the federal courthouse. We are going to check in with her. She has been inside court the whole time throughout this trial and all morning long. So, good afternoon, Elizabeth. Can you tell me what is going on, or what has been going on, I should say, outside or inside court this morning? What have the jurors been doing? What's the reaction been?
Yeah, well, obviously today's a big day. It's the defense's closing argument. And I will say this, Angenette. First of all, a lot's kind of going on. I got stuck on an elevator. I don't have my phone. So, Mom, I apologize if you're trying to text me right now. I don't have my phone with me. It's still locked up inside. But as far as just the tone of the closing arguments, it's a little bit different than how it was yesterday. And I'm going to just speak kind of frankly here, where Mark Agnifilo is super animated. And this is something that I kind of wanted from the prosecution in terms of just personalizing it for the jury, in terms of starting the closings off and thanking them for their time, thanking them for paying attention to everything. And then, of course, as I'm talking to you right now, Angenette, I'm moving with my hands, I'm talking with my hands. It's something I normally do, and that's kind of the way and the tone that Mark Agnifilo is doing the closing arguments in the same fashion. He even isn't standing kind of right at the podium when he's giving his closing argument. He's really kind of going back and forth and back and forth. He's showing demonstratives, he's showing posters, he's showing text messages in the forms of paper, but obviously the jury is able to see it on their jury screens. But in terms of just the tone, from what I could see at the start of closing arguments today, was that the jury was paying close attention. I think when you personalize a summation for the jury, where you speak to them directly, you thank them for their time, you thank them for their civic service, that I think it really kind of resonates with them. So all eyes obviously were on Mark Agnifilo today. Now, there were points during Mark Agnifilo's summation that I think maybe he might have been losing the jury in terms of just how long it was going. But again, like I had said yesterday, if people can binge watch television shows for hours on end, I don't think a 4-hour closing argument is really just, the longest thing ever. But I think maybe as we were getting kind of towards the lunch break, I think a lot of people might have been a little hungry. I maybe saw people not paying or I shouldn't say they weren't paying attention. They were definitely paying attention. But I did see some peeks and glances over at the clock a couple of times. But it's possible that it was just the lunchtime. People wanted to eat, and so they wanted to know how soon they'll be able to eat, and then probably will be paying close attention once we come back from the lunch break.
So the jurors, you said, were looking at the clock, but it could have been the lunch break, but maybe boredom, or just not sure, or...
I think it was more towards the lunch hour, that especially as we were kind of slowly inching past 12:30, 1 o'clock. So still, we're digesting hours and hours of summations already. So I think it was kind of towards the lunch time frame that they were kind of looking and glazing at the clock here and there, just probably wondering, when is lunch going to start? Something that maybe a lot of us had that question too.
Yeah, lunch is a good thing. Everybody needs lunch. Jurors, the court, everybody. So tell me, Elizabeth, there was Judge Submarinian. He said he was going to give a curative instruction to the jury. Maureen Comey asked for that. And she said it was because Mark Agnifilo made some improper comments. So talk to me a little bit about that. And what was it? Was there tension in the courtroom when this was going on?
It didn't seem like there was necessarily tension in the courtroom when this was going on, because mind you, Angenette, the jury wasn't present when Maureen Comey stood up and told this to the judge. And let me just, for those who are unfamiliar with kind of what happened, this came after kind of a morning break. Maureen Comey mentioned that she didn't want to be interrupting Mark Agnifilo's summation, so she waited until the jury was dismissed for a morning break to kind of bring up these issues. And so the government was pretty much upset that Mark Agnifilo was telling the jury that they should consider the reason why the government brought charges against Sean Combs. They were saying that it's not the jury's job to be speculating on why the government is bringing about these charges against the defendant, and obviously the defendant being Sean Combs. The government said that Mark Agnifilo told the jury that the Intercontinental Hotel incident, that being the domestic violence aspect that the jury has seen kind of playing out in that surveillance video, they claim getting everyone mixed up. The defense was saying that was a misdemeanor charge, and then the government said that that's mischaracterizing everything. There's a lot of ambulances going on, so I'm hoping that everyone can kind of still hear me. It seems like there was a little commotion going on when I was exiting court today, but I just wanted to make sure the sirens weren't too distracting. But even in terms of just what Mark Agnifilo was saying to the jurors in respects to arson and kidnapping, I think the government wanted to make clear that Sean Combs isn't charged with arson and kidnapping. hoping that instead it falls under the predicate acts under RICO, which a lot of people seem to be kind of confused about in general, even outside of the courtroom, where I think people think Diddy is charged with kidnapping and arson and forced labor, all of that stuff. But again, that is a predicate act that's laid out under the RICO charge. And of course, count one is racketeering conspiracy, aka RICO. And so Agnifilo kind of was, I think, a little disappointed by the government saying this, and then the judge kind of taking into consideration giving the jury this particular instruction, mainly because he says that he thinks that he's allowed to be sarcastic. He says that his commentary while he's giving his summations is pretty fair, because if you think about it in contrast to the prosecution's closing argument, they for the most part were just kind of very monotone, methodical, really just kind of, it was the presentation here. They were kind of, standing at the podium, reading off the notes. And again, this was Christy Slavic giving the closings for the government, whereas Mark Agnifilo, he has a different style. He was saying that his commentary was pretty much fair. And so after the morning break, the judge told Mark Agnifilo to not do it again, pretty much. He said that he called it improper and said that the jury shouldn't speculate why the charges were brought. And then Alexandra Shapiro also kind of chimed in terms of these arguments when we were brought back from the morning break, where she said what was done wasn't improper. She said that the judge called out Mark Agnifilo, but the judge kind of chimed in. He was like, I didn't call anybody out. AUSA Maureen Comey brought this to my attention, and so I'm just kind of trying to do what I need to do. But he read back the transcript to Mark Agnifilo too, where he said, look, you cannot be saying this. You cannot be having the jury kind of speculate on these types of things. And so Shapiro kind of, she clapped back a little bit, where she said Christy Slavic said that there were guns at freak-offs and implied that the government got the law wrong when it comes to drug distribution and all of that stuff. But in the end of the day, the judge ended up giving those special instructions once the jury was brought back after the morning break.
And just so the viewers know, and kudos to you, Elizabeth, for making it through the sirens. I've been there. It's tough. It's tough. The government, wanted to get rid of the attempted arson, attempted kidnapping, just to streamline things. That's what they said they did. So I think there was just so much confusion about all of that when that letter came out. So let's just really quickly, and then we'll check in with Sierra. I wanted to ask you, what's Sean Combs doing during all of this, as his attorney is kind of making his final pitch to the jury?
Yeah, because these closing arguments are a big deal. It is the final message that both sides will be able to deliver to the jury before they get the jury instructions, before they eventually go back to that room and deliberate. And so from what I could see of Sean Combs, because Angenette, it was a packed courtroom in there, just kind of like it was yesterday, and it was the same kind of thing today. A lot of eyes are on kind of both sides to see what do they have to say in their final message to the jury. So from what I could see of Sean Combs, he really had all eyes focused on Mark Agnifilo. I think, and that was the same for everybody who was sitting at the defense tables, is that they had all their eyes on Mark Agnifilo as he's giving these final summations. It wasn't like when the government was doing their closing argument yesterday, where you could see Sean Combs passing off notes to his attorneys. From what I could see of him today, he wasn't really jotting much down, if he was even jotting anything down. He really was just focused on what his defense attorney, and high-profile defense attorney at that, really had to say in his final message to the jury. So all eyes definitely on Mark Agnifilo today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we will let you get back into court. Elizabeth, thank you so much, and go find that phone. Hopefully it's still where you left it. We need to now check in with Sierra Gillespie. So Sierra, we will see what she has going on outside of the courthouse. Sierra, did you find out who fell outside of the courthouse?
Yes, Angenette. So it was kind of a lot happening at once. Actually, sorry, I'm getting feedback, so I'm just going to pull this out real quick so that I don't hear myself and only you guys hear me. So here's what happened. It's the lunch hour. Everybody is coming out of these doors behind me. So it's kind of a rush. I mean, you have people like Elizabeth, you have P. Diddy's families. I was talking about those Sprinter vans that were right over here coming to pick up his families. And then all of a sudden this person had what appears to be some sort of medical incident. Now, I don't exactly know the identity of this person, but he seems to have, and I mean, I can't confirm this, I'm not a doctor, but what appears to be a seizure. I mean, looking like he is, seizing on the ground. So that's what happened. Meanwhile, there are all of these barracks here, I guess you could say. If we can just pan over here on our camera and show. We have all of these right here kind of to keep people back. So when this man came out and he's having this medical episode, everyone rushes over to try to help him. But the police officers, who's their job to make sure that everything is, safe and okay, they kind of push the people back. Meanwhile, P. Diddy's family is coming out at the same time. So they start looking and they're like, wait, what's going on? And there are still over here, we can pan over here too and look, there are still a couple of ambulances that were here to help this man, just to make sure that he was okay. So we did watch just a few minutes ago, he was loaded onto a stretcher. So hopefully he's going to be okay. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the trial. However, P. Diddy's family was here and they did witness it as they were getting into their vans.
So Sierra, I think I saw you put your earpiece back in. Hopefully you're still not getting that feedback, but hopefully that gentleman is okay. Anything else happening outside of court? We were talking earlier with the panel about how, some people love Sean Combs, other people do not. So I know we haven't seen the big crowds of people gathering in anticipation of the verdict, but anything else that you're seeing that you think we should know about?
Yeah, we haven't seen the crowds as of yet, but I think we're both kind of guessing that in the future we will. We did have just minutes ago, it was really busy over here, and I know we have the footage. I can't see what was played on the live stream, but I'm pretty confident we have a great team back in the control room that was playing all the stuff we had. So we had a bit of a crowd, but again, nobody chanting, free Puffy, nobody chanting justice for Cassie and Jane, nothing like that as of yet, but there's still time, as I've been saying.
Yeah, still time for that, for sure. So Sierra, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break, and after this break, Sierra will be taking over. I'm going to be signing off. I thank you to the panel. They will be sticking around and hanging out with Sierra. Thank you to Bradford. Thank you to Alexis and Mauricio. Stay with us. This will just be a short break. I'm Angenette Levy. You are watching Law and Crime on YouTube. Keep those great questions coming. Drop them in the chat. We'll see you back here in just a minute.